Welcome to Learning Photography with Duck. Here's your host, Duck.
Hey guys, once again, my name is Duck. I am your host today, and I'm going to start off with an apology. I pressed the record button for last week's session with Lightroom, and it recorded it, but because I had the video issues with Lightroom, it did not record any of the Lightroom stuff. So I did not post last week's video because it would have been me just talking at you without any kind of visual or interaction with the program. So I apologize for that. Hopefully I got all the bugs ironed out for this time around. But then again, it's me. Something's bound to break or go wrong. All learning experience. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me. Today we are going to be discussing Photoshop. Okay. And we're basically going to continue what we did last week in how to colorize, fall images to be able to bring out a lot more of the fall colors. I was fortunate enough that this past weekend, I joined Robert Fiedler and the Hartford Amateurs Photography Group up in Kent. We went to various areas around Kent, including Kent Falls, the covered bridge up there, and a few other little locations. And we had a great time. And my purpose for going was to get images so that I could edit them for you today. So I have a few that we can go over. That being said, I do want to say that I am going to be hosting my own little fall colors landscape shoot. And I've picked the Goodspeed Opera House to be the backdrop for those images. And it's going to be Sunday, October 24th. I hope I got that date right. Yeah. Around 2 o'clock. It's going to be a short meetup, nothing crazy. And we're going to meet at Eagle Landing State Park, which is the state park that's directly across the street, or not across the street, across the river from the Goodspeed Opera House. So it gives us a nice view of the Opera House and the East Haddam Bridge that goes over the Connecticut River, and it has that the whole hillside as a backdrop. So hopefully we'll get some nice colors on that day. I picked 2 o'clock to be a little bit later in the day, and that's going to actually put the sun a little bit more behind us rather than in front of us, because from the landing looking across to the Goodspeed Opera House, we're actually facing east, and I didn't want to get there too early and have that the rising sun in our face. So, meet at 2 o'clock, spend an hour or two. We'll explore the area, maybe take a ride across the river to the Opera House area and see what we can capture there as well. So, hopefully you'll join me. Bring your tripod in order to get some nice landscapes. If you want to shoot panoramas, you'll need the tripod so that you can pan across. That'd be kind of nice. And because we are going to be shooting both distance and close-up stuff, I suggest bringing two types of lenses. One wide, so you can get, a pretty wide view if we're up close and personal. And then because we're going to be across the river, maybe bring a longer lens. That way you can zoom in on the Opera House if you wanted to, or back it out and stitch multiple images in order to get a nice panorama of the hillside. Right. Also, what I've put onto the books is the Saturday before, so it's going to be a pretty busy weekend for workshops. Saturday the 23rd, I am running 2 workshops back to back in New Haven on doing street portraiture. Right. If you recall, about month and a half ago, I put out a poll asking what kind of stuff people were interested in. One was landscape stuff, which we'll be doing on Sunday. And the other one was street photography. So I put 2 sessions together for that Saturday. They are workshops. So I am going to charge a small fee of $20. But I'm going to walk you through the whole process of just being able to walk up to complete strangers and be able to put together a nice portrait of them on the fly, just using available light, and working the scene using the environment that's around you. We're going to be in New Haven because there'll be hopefully plenty of foot traffic that day, and New Haven has so many different little places that can be, really awesome backgrounds. So if you are the shy person, or if you have a hard time approaching strangers on doing portraiture, this might help you kind of overcome some of your fears, right? And I'm also, of course, going to be going over how to pose, how to communicate with your subject, and things like that. Okay, so that's on Saturday the 23rd. I have 2 sessions, one at 12 o'clock. That'll run till about 2, and then at 2:30 to about 4:30. Okay, so hopefully if that interests you, you'll come out and join me. All right. Okay, so enough of that. Okay, how's everybody been? How's the week been since I last talked to you? Anybody care to share anything? Anything new?
I just got home time. I was out hiking and taking pictures. By the way, congratulations, Jill. Jill won first place in the Beardsley Zoo contest.
Oh, wow, nice. Awesome.
Thank you, Bill.
Very good. Okay.
You want to see the one that won?
Yeah, if it's available, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hang on, I gotta open it.
Let's see, where's my...
There's the Zoom.
Let's get this.
Okay. My slow computer, here it comes. That was my winning photo.
Oh, how cute! How
I saw you
cute!
posted that. I didn't realize that was the winning photo. I saw you post that on Facebook. Very, very nice.
Very nice. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Feels nice
That's not
to
an easy-
feels nice to be
Yes,
recognized, huh?
It does.
Yeah.
That's not an easy place to take a picture of wildlife where you can make it to follow PSA rules.
Yeah.
I don't think...
Bill, that one doesn't follow. I can't put that in PSA.
Okay.
He's laying on a canvas like sledge, and you can see like when it you can see that a saw had actually cut off one of the limbs. So and plus he's on canvas, and if you look real close, you can see the canvas. So yeah.
Okay.
The other red panda that wanted the Camera Club can go in his thing because he's just under a fern.
All right.
There you go. But anyhow, congratulations. That is friggin' awesome. Awesome.
Thanks. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, you should be. You're going to frame that and post it in your house, right? Hang it up on a wall in your house?
More than likely, yeah.
Yeah.
And the zoo has asked permission to reprint it and frame it and have it on auction at their gala.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, definitely it's a fundraiser for them. And let me tell you, I love that zoo. That's a great little zoo. So, all right. Anybody else got anything interesting to share? I know Brian shared his new tablet. Anybody else? No? Okay. Let us then, therefore, proceed and get into the lesson. All right. So I am going to go ahead and attempt this again. Let's try sharing. All right. Can you see? Actually, let me go ahead and. All right. Are you able to see my Lightroom?
I see you.
Oh,
No.
Oh, yep. Hold on. There we go. Let's switch it over. That's my fault. Now can you see Lightroom? All right.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Awesome. Okay. So, as you know, I usually start all my edits in Lightroom. All right. I've selected these 3 images. These are from my trip this past weekend to Kent. I have 2 images from Kent Falls. All right. If you've ever been to Kent Falls, you might recognize this. The first one is right at the entrance, while the second image is actually at the falls themselves. The third image is the Cornwall covered bridge, which is just north of Kent. So these are the 3 images that I've decided to use today. Hopefully we'll get through all 3 of them. But what I want to do is I want to walk you through very similar techniques, and I'm going to just kind of like step it up each time I go through each one. If you notice, let me see if I can make this bigger here. If you notice, the colors that that are present right now, because of all the rain and everything, they're not very vibrant and they're not very colorful. At the Kent Falls, you can see that there's still a lot of green there. When we got into the second image closer to the falls, I noticed there was a little bit more color, but it's still very yellow. Not quite a nice mix of a variety of colors, but at least there are some colors there. All right. And it's the same thing with the covered bridge. There's really not a lot of, wide array of colors. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the power of Photoshop to kind of cheat our way through it and add color. The other thing was this past weekend was very overcast. Fortunately, we missed the rain by literally like half an hour. By the time I went with my wife, Diane, by the time Diane and I got back into the car to head home, that's when it started raining. It was kind of like a misty wetness. But the whole day was this kind of bland overhead sky that just wasn't very interesting to look at. Even if I tried underexposing it, let me see if I can do it here. Even when I tried underexposing it in camera, you can see that, it wasn't a very pretty sky. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off prepping the image in Lightroom. Okay. If you do not use Lightroom, you can do the exact same thing in Adobe Camera Raw. All right. And what the heck's going on now? I definitely need a new computer. I'm pushing my resources on this computer way too hard. All right. So let's see. I'm going to start with the second image first. And the first thing I want to do, if you attended my session last week, is I want to try to pull whatever colors are existing here already. I want to pull them out as much as I can using Lightroom. And the first thing that I did was I went into my profile colors, and you are going to give me problems here. And I changed it from my camera. Oh my goodness. I changed it from my default camera setting, and I changed it to Adobe Color. Adobe Color. All right. And all you have to do is just hover over these, and it will kind of give you a preview of what each of these settings does. And I thought that Adobe Color just kind of helped pull some of these yellows out and a little bit of the oranges from the existing colors that were there. Okay. So that was my first step. And then I jumped down to my calibration. We talked how we can use this to kind of make our images a little bit more vibrant. And I pushed up the blue saturation and the green saturation and the red saturation just to kind of make these colors pop a little bit more. The green didn't really do a lot for what I want to do. The only thing it does is if you go too much, it'll start desaturating some of the greens. I didn't want to desaturate them because what in the world is going on here? I want to desaturate them because I knew I was going to be shifting the colors away from the green and into something else. Okay, so the green slider really didn't do a lot. The blue one, I always go for that one first. And told you, if something's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong on for me. All right, let's see. And I don't have anything else I can close down here. Okay. I'm sorry if the video's jumping on you guys. I think I'm taxing my system a little bit too hard. All right. I'm not gonna stick with Lightroom too much, but just know that what I did is I prepped it. I didn't go crazy with a lot of local adjustments. As a matter of fact, I didn't do any local adjustments. I just basically punched the colors out a little bit. In one case, I think I just corrected my my horizon. I straightened it out a little bit, and that was pretty much it. Oh, and the waterfall, I cooled it off just a tiny bit here. Okay. All right. So I then went and opened it in Photoshop, and it just whether you're using Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw, it's going to apply those modifications and open it up. And in this particular case, we have a lot of yellows and kind of like these bright greens and not much else. So that tree line looks pretty monochromatic. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of cheat it a little bit and put in my own colors. All right. We can't pull colors out that aren't there. So because there are no colors that I want, I'm going to create my own colors. All right. But I want to create them in a way that looks fairly realistic, that somebody looking at the scene is going to say, oh, wow, that looks fake. Okay. So believe it or not, being able to shift the colors or rather not shift the colors, but change the colors is fairly simple. And we can do it pretty much in one layer. We're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to create a blank layer. If we click on this little plus symbol on the bottom right hand side, it's just going to create a blank layer, or you can just go layer, new layer. Okay? Both things will give you the same thing. Now that we have a brand new layer on top, what I want to do is kind of take a look at the scene and start making kind of like these logical choices about what colors I'm going to use and where I'm going to place them. So looking at the formation of the trees and the placement of the trees, that's going to kind of guide me and how I'm going to approach this. Right? As you can see, like I said, there's a lot of this kind of like golden yellow, especially in and around the falls. All right, not so much past the falls, right? But we also have these areas of green, all right? So we have a lot of green here, some green in here, but basically all this yellow here and not much else, all right? And then we have some trees in this area that looks like they've lost their leaves already. So looking at that, I can kind of see a reddish, brownish tint to it. So I think if I put red into those areas, I think they'll look natural. Also, if I introduce some orange, I can place the reds and the oranges in strategic locations that will create kind of like a patchwork over the tree line. Okay, so definitely some red in this area here. I can see putting in some orange here and some red, and definitely maybe even some orange up in the top here and red in the lower section. Okay. So I have my new layer. I'm just gonna name this color. Okay. And I'm gonna select a brush. All right. I have my own custom brushes that I use. If anybody is interested in learning how to make your own brushes, hit me up in the Facebook group. Let me know you're interested, and maybe I'll walk you through. But I have one that I use for painting color that kind of blends the edges, but any soft round brush will work as long as you have a nice soft feather edge. Okay. So I'm going to use my color texture blend, and I'm going to pick a nice well, maybe not a bright red, maybe a cooler red, right? We have to keep in mind some of the colors that we normally see, on trees during the fall. The reds, sometimes they look very vibrant, but it tends to be a combination of these kind of like maroon reds, purpley reds, intermixed with oranges and things like that. So we're going to see a white combination, all right? So I'm going to pick something that kind of sort of looks red, okay? And I'm going to, where am I? Make sure that my flow is 100%, right? And I'm just going to start painting into the areas where I'd like to see some of that red, okay? Now, you're probably looking at this and says, well, that doesn't look very natural, okay? And you're right, it doesn't, not yet, okay? What I'm looking for right now is just to use the colors against each other and have a little bit of contrast between groups of trees in order to create some kind of visual separation. So it's not just kind of like this wall of yellow and orange, okay? And every time I'm going back to my color palette, I'm going to just pick a different color. All right. So I want to kind of mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to go maybe with an orange over here. Let's get an orange to kind of break up this area of yellow here. All right. And I put a little bit of red in there into the deeper areas. Okay. And I'm not being overly careful where I'm painting, all right? I want to keep it to the groups of trees, all right? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. And my computer is definitely lagging. All right. Let me zoom in. All right, you can see that it's not. I'm just putting in blocks, or not blocks, but blotches of color. Right, different blotches of color. Definitely not very careful of where I'm putting them. All right. Meaning I'm not being very particular where I'm putting them. Let's put it this way. All right. I am watching the underlying structure of the trees, obviously, because I want to make sure that when you look at it, you're not seeing a tree that's half orange and half red, for example. Okay. All right. And let's I'm gonna go ahead and, if I press my Alt key, I can go ahead and pick up this red color again, and I can put it into some of these areas that's kind of a little lacking. Okay. All right, and let's go with maybe a cooler red. All right, maybe put it into. Well, that might be a little bit too bright. Okay. But we'll see what happens. All right. If we don't like something, we can always change it. All right. That's the nice thing about it, because we are working on its own individual layer. Actually, if I hide the layer underneath, you can see how blotchy these colors are. All right. So it's not like I'm being overly careful. Okay. But here's where the magic comes into play. Let me zoom out. if we change the blend mode from normal, right, all the way down to the bottom where it says color, okay, it mixes with the underlying layer, which is our photograph, and it basically applies a layer of color over it, and it colorizes everything underneath. Now, this is just the first part, because as you can see, it doesn't look very realistic, okay? But we're going to get to that point in a little bit. What I want to do is I just want to use the colors, right? Maybe I'll pick a yellow here, and maybe paint some yellow up in this area here, okay? Bring some of that yellow out in these areas that are a little bit more on the green side, okay? So that way I'm working to create some kind of color balance here, okay? A little bit of a color balance, okay? Maybe, all right, this part here, this orange is looking a little bit too garish, but because I'm not finished yet, I'm not going to be too worried about it right now. So let me just pick up that orange color, maybe mute it down a little bit and introduce it into this little bit of a tree area here, okay? Let's pick another red, okay? And now what I'm doing is, if you notice, I'm kind of using the colors in a way to kind of separate different areas, right? Maybe make that part of the tree up there a little bit more yellow. All right, get some red in there, or maybe get some red back there. All right. Maybe even introduce a little bit of red over here on the right-hand side, because we're kind of lacking there. All right. Yeah, I think I'm going to take this orange and I'm going to knock it down just a touch. Okay. We want to use colors that are a little bit more on earth tones, or something that we would definitely see out in nature. Okay. Let's see. I kind of like that orange. Let's bring some of that orange over here. Okay. All right. So there we go. We got a nice array of colors going on. All right. Jill, could you do me a favor? Just mute your mic.
Oh, sorry, I didn't.
That's all right. I'm sure you didn't want people listening in on your conversations at home. Okay, so adding color. All right, let's maybe add some orange in there. All right, and if the colors blend together a little bit around the edges, that doesn't matter. Okay. All right, and of course, if you want to create a little bit of dimension, all right, the day, because it was so overcast, you can see it, in the photo here, how overcast it is. There really weren't any strong shadows. So we can even use some of this color to introduce some dimension and shadow to these trees, just by putting a darker color on one side, in order to give it kind of like a pseudo 3D look. Okay. All right. So now we're seeing it a little bit more vibrancy. All right. So the first step was to shift it over from normal to color blend mode. Okay. And because this looks a little garish, what I want to do now is, if you double click on your layer, the color layer, it's going to bring up your layer style. And this is going to allow us to do a couple of things. In this particular case, what I want to do, give me 1 second. Okay. What I want to do is I want to bring back some of the deep shadows that kind of get washed out by applying a light color over it. Okay. Because all the colors I'm using are very, very bright. They're very vibrant. What it's doing is it's affecting all the shadow areas and making all the shadow areas a lot brighter. And because of that, we're losing some of the texture and dimension in the tree line. So what I want to do is I want to bring some of those shadows back. And for that, we're going to use our blend if. Blend if says if a certain color is lighter or darker, either above or below your target, we're going to blend the two. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to blend my top layer, which is my color layer, into my underlying photo, which is the underlying layer. And I want to bring the shadows from that underlying layer through that top layer. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my underlying layer. Okay? And I'm going to say I want to protect or make these dark tones come through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my underlying layer, and all the way on the left-hand side, I'm going to select that little triangle underneath it, and I'm going to start bringing it from the left to the right. And as I do that, you're going to see that some of these shadows are now going to start coming through. Okay? Actually, here, I'll do one even better. Let me cancel that. I'm going to change my color blend back to normal so you can really see it. Okay? And let me go ahead and zoom in so you can really see what's going on here. Okay? All right, so we have all these spots of color, right? I'm going to double click, bring up my layer style dialog box. I'm going to go to my blend if, right? Bring the underlying layer from the left side, which is my shadow side. I'm going to bring it to the blacks, all right? And you can see all these deep areas in between the tree limbs and the shadow areas of the leaves, they're starting to now open up, okay? So what's happening is all the color is now just affecting my midtones and my highlight tones. And it's not affecting the shadow areas, okay? But you can see that's kind of nasty looking. It's very pixelated. It's a very harsh delineation between my shadows and the new color. So if you press and hold the Alt key, we can take and we can split that little triangle underneath here into two parts. And if I bring and I open up the space between those, what that does is it creates a transition between where it starts showing the shadow and where it transitions over into the color. Okay? So all that is kind of like what's the term? It's like an edge blend. All right. So it's not as harsh. It looks a little bit more natural now. Okay. All right. And of course, remember, we're still in the normal blend. All right. And I can still control my blend mode from this dialog box as well. all right, right up here where it says blend mode. Okay, if I go there from normal, bring it to color, all right, now we can see how it's just coloring those highlight areas, all right? And if we find that, some of the really bright parts, we don't want to put any color into it, we can take the highlight side of that underlying layer and bring it in from the right-hand side. And now all these very, very bright areas of the tree are now no longer going to get color, okay? This is all going to be very dependent on your image, okay? But just think of this as affecting the luminosity, all right? Because that's what it's reading. It's reading the luminosity, okay? We have our whites all the way on the right-hand side, and we have our blacks all the way on the left-hand side. What are we trying to keep? What are we trying to push through these layers? Okay? All right. And then once we are okay with that, we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Okay? Now you can see that even with that blend mode, it still looks a little bit fake, all right? Because the colors are still a little bit overpowering. So what we need to do is we need to tone it down a little bit. And for this, I'm just going to use a very simple technique of dialing the opacity of this new color layer that I applied. And I'm going to bring the opacity down, and I'm going to bring it till it looks a little bit more natural, okay? 50%-ish, right? Let me go ahead and zoom out, all right? 45%, yeah, about 45%. That looks pretty decent, all right? So if I turn it off, turn it back on, now we have something that looks like natural fall colors, and something that wasn't there to begin with. Okay? Any questions about any of this so far? No questions? We're good? Okay. All right. So that is the basic principle of coloring an image. And that's what we're basically going to do for the other two images, all right? So let's go to the second image, all right? And you can see that in this particular image, the tree line in the distance is pretty much all still green. We do have a little bit of a light tree happening right here, and that's about it, okay? But we also have this large expanse of really dull, nasty-looking sky with absolutely like no detail, all right? So let's play with something here, okay? Let's replace the sky, okay? Those of you who have Luminar may be familiar with this, the sky replacement. But Photoshop, let's see. I'm going to keep that open. All right. If we go to image, let's see, where was it? Edit. Down about halfway down, we have sky replacement. Sky replacement. We click on that. And I got a feeling my computer's going to slow up a lot for this, because this is pretty CPU intensive, all right? Because we're taking a whole new different image, and we're using it to import into our own image, okay? And there's a couple ways you can do it if you don't want to use the sky replacement tool, all right? But the sky replacement tool does a pretty decent job of doing it, all right? I've already kind of preloaded an image. I have I actually have, let's see, I actually have a folder that I keep certain assets in there. And one of them is skies that, I'll just photograph, if I see an interesting sky, I'll just photograph the sky because I know that I may be able to use it in a situation like this. And you know what? If you like shooting landscapes, you know that oftentimes you'll be out, shooting a landscape that you've been wanting to get for the longest time, and the weather's not cooperating. So it's nice to be able to have assets that you can refer to and use. Now, the other reason is that while the sky replacement tool does come with a variety of skies already preloaded in it, they are stock photos. So you're going to be using the same skies that hundreds, if not thousands, of other people will be using in their images. All right. But if you have your own assets, guess what? They will never get used by anybody else. So it will make your image that much more unique. Okay. So I have this one here. And I noticed that the temperature of the sky is very, very cool, where my scene was very, very warm. So right here, I have the ability to make modifications, right? So, well, actually, the first one is obviously you can select which image you want, all right? Like I said, it comes preset with a bunch of skies already, but you can navigate to, your own assets, all right? And here I have, in my photos, miscellaneous, I have one that's just clouds, okay? And in there, I have nothing but a wide variety of cloud images, okay? So I made this selection, right? I want to now warm that sky up a lot, okay? And maybe even brighten it a little bit, because it was, when I took this particular sky, it was a little bit stormy that day. All right. So you can see that I can manipulate that sky right from here in order to make it match a little bit. Okay. I know with Luminar, it does that matching automatically for you, and it does a pretty decent job. Okay. All right. So that's my sky adjustment, and then my foreground adjustment. Okay. I can manipulate those as well. All right. In this case, I really don't want to manipulate it because I'm kind of happy with the way it already looks. All right. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Okay. And then the last part of this is the output. All right. How do you want to output it? All right. Into a new layer or into a duplicate layer. All right. And in my case, I prefer outputting it to new layers simply because that allows me to make modifications to the adjustments for those layers separately. Okay. So I'm going to, I have my preview. I'm liking the way, if I want, I can say, you know what, let me see if I can warm up that sky even more. Okay. But just keep in mind that you can make changes after you hit OK. So I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And Photoshop is going to create a stack of layers. Okay, you can see all of these here. All right. Foreground color, all right, it's blank, blank mask, right, and it has a curves adjustment, okay. The only reason this is here is because I made that slight modification just to kind of show you where it's at. I actually don't want any kind of foreground modification right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. Okay. But here we have our sky replacement, all right, which used the file that I told Photoshop to use. It created a mask, all right, so this is what the mask looks like. And you can see that it did a really, really great job of just selecting the sky area, all right. So it's awesome because you don't have to worry about it all that much. And then we have our temperature, right? Again, this is where we really warmed up that sky, all right? And we can double click on it. And if we want to, we can make changes, all right? To that, we can warm it up a little bit more, all right? Introduce maybe a little bit red, a little bit of yellow in there, okay? And pretty much just fine tune it the way we want, okay? All right, and then of course we have our brightness, so we can change the exposure for that sky so that it makes it match, okay? All right. So we got a sky that looks a little bit more favorable to our scene, okay? I'm going to go ahead and collapse that stack, and you can see that it named it Sky Replacement Group, which is great. Above that, I'm going to create a new layer, all right? So we can go layer, new layer here, okay? And I'm just going to name this color, just like I did previously. It's a blank layer, okay? And on this, I'm going to pretty much do the same exact thing. Let's see, we're going to start with a yellow. I'm going to take this tree here that's already very, very bright, and I'm just going to make it a little bit more yellow, all right? And maybe get a red in here, all right? Maybe make that tree red. Let's see, maybe we'll make these tree reds up here. All right, and you can see I haven't done anything with the blend modes and the layer mode. Okay, I'm just going in and I'm making adjustments, placing colors here where I think it would benefit the scene. So I'm going to select a bunch of different colors. All right, let's see if we can introduce, some more yellow into the scene. Let's make it a nice bright yellow. All right, make this look like a real fall color. All right, every time I go to a new tree, I'm going to change up the colors that I use. Okay, because I don't want to make it look like I'm using a very limited palette. All right, I'm always going to go in and change up the colors. All right, maybe add a little bit of a blue or purple in there. Let's see, something that's a little less saturated, a little darker. Okay, get some oranges in here. Maybe some real bright oranges. All right. There we go. Get maybe some more yellow in here. Here. I think I'm going to add a lot more yellow to the scene, obviously, because, there isn't any. Okay. Now, the one thing that you do have to look out for is any spillway that is outside of your trees, all right? So here we have a very distinct tree line, okay? If I paint over that, it's going to color my background as well, all right? So you have to be careful with this, all right? If you make a mistake, we'll just go ahead and select the eraser, and I can come in and I can just erase there. Okay. And I might even just, keep it away from the edge because, those trees are way, way in the background. They're kind of a little bit more in shadow. If they don't get colored, it's not a big deal. My main concern basically is just, coloring these trees that are out here in the forefront. Okay? Make sense? All right. All right, so now, all right, so we have this calico array of colors, all right? Double click, brings up the layer style. Again, I'm going to take the underlying layer, all right, the underlying layer. I'm going to bring it in away from the left-hand side. It's going to make those darker areas come forward. All right. See, we're getting that. Alt key, press and hold the Alt, which creates a separation. All right. And that's going to allow us to give us a more natural transition. All right. And then we're going to come up here where it says general blending, blend mode. We're going to change that from normal to color. All right. And if you want to do it all from here, we just take the opacity, which is right here. We take the opacity and bring it down till it looks good to our eye. Because those colors were a little bit darker, I think probably something in the 80% range might look a little bit better, right? These red ones are kind of really standing out. So let's go and change that up. I'm going to make a selection. All right. By pressing and holding my Alt key, it changes the cursor to the color picker. All right. So this is a great way of being able to pick colors on the fly. All right. And I'm picking a slightly darker color. All right. Let's change it up. Maybe go a little bit cooler. All right. There we go. Yeah, there. Maybe introduce a little bit more red so it's not as obvious in that one spot. And you can make your brush size, bigger, smaller as needed. Okay. Fairly simple once you get the hang of it. It's a matter of, kind of fine-tuning where you want to place these colors, all right? And the other thing that you can do is instead of doing all the colors on one layer, you might want to try doing it like put all your yellows on one layer and then all your reds on a different layer. That way you can control the intensity of the opacity between the different colors. So, or different areas, like for example, if you find that, well, my reds are coming across a lot stronger than my yellows. Well, you know what? We just create a new layer. We pick our yellow, color that in. Okay. Change that to our color, bring the opacity down, all right. Go in and to our blend if, have those shadows come forward. Oops, there we go. There we go. And just like that, we've made that that tree a little bit brighter. Okay? Any questions on sky replacement and doing the colorization? Any questions? Or did I fry? Hopefully I didn't fry brains. Okay. All right. Now, the other
Me, I learned something new. I never knew there was color replacement. I mean, sky replacement. So that's a good thing for me today.
Oh, cool. Yeah, this is something that Photoshop introduced about a year ago or so. I can't even remember now. But yeah. And the other thing about this coloring technique is we can use it to color our brook here. Okay. Or we can do one even better. I'll show you a little trick. I'm going to take our sky here, and I'm going to make a duplicate of it. Okay, my sky copy. And I'm going to bring it and put it all the way at the very top. Okay. All right, so there's, ooh, that's horrendous. Okay. Let's see. We're going to get rid of...
Looks like you just moved to Arizona.
I know, huh? I'm trying to figure out what the color, what's it doing here. Anything? Okay, cancel. All right. Oops. That's not what I wanted. It's linked to something. Let's see. Unlink layer. There we go. And why is it? Oh, what the heck did I do? What did I break? Let me. I did something. Let me back all this up. Okay. I don't know what the heck I just did, but it shouldn't be that bright orange. All right. Made this.
So let me turn this into a teaching moment, Doug.
Yep.
I do this a lot. So what I use is I look at the history thing. The history to see what I've done.
Yep.
What I might have done to cause it, or was it because just the layer switch?
Yeah. You know what? That's something that I'm not used to doing. But that actually is a good tip. To go to the history. Window, history, and then it shows you. The reason I usually don't use it is because you can see it's very vague as to what exactly you did, layer via copy, unlink layer, if you're not careful about it, or not really paying attention, those vague labels kind of tend to get lost on me. So, but yeah, if it works for you, definitely. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my sky up. And again, it's really, why is it, I don't know why it's shifting my color like that. Because it shouldn't. There's my sky. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to even bother. Where is it? I'll do it the old-fashioned way. Oh, this is strange. It really is strange. Why? Where's my history? Very strange why it does that. Okay. I'll have to look into it. I don't use the sky replacement tool all that often, simply because I do my sky replacement with actual layer masks. I'll create my own layer mask, and I'll insert my own sky. But The other way you can do it is if you have a copy of the sky. What I normally would do is I would make a copy of my sky, right? In this case, for some reason, it's really doing some funky things with the color, and I don't understand why. And I'm not going to bother finding out right now because I don't want to kill your guys' time. All right, but I would make a copy, and I would flip it horizontally and overlay it over where my water is, change the blend mode, all right, so that it now colors that. Let me pull up a blue here. Okay, I'll just put blue, all kinds of. All right, just to show you. All right, so you would limit it, obviously, by using masks to your water area, all right? And then when you change the blend mode, okay, what you are doing is you are getting a kind of like as if the water was reflecting the sky, all right? So right now, this water looks very, very bland because the sky, when I shot this, was very, very bland. All right. When I replaced it, I actually replaced it with something that has some kind of interest. Okay. Actually, let me see if I can do it this way. I'm going to do a copy. All right. And I'm just going to select my sky. Let me back out here. I'm just going to select my sky. Okay. All right. Dump that. All right. So here you can see I have my sky. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it. Edit, transform, flip horizontally. Oh, no, sorry. Edit, transform, flip vertically. There we go. Okay. Now I'm just going to drop the opacity just so I can see where I'm placing. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to put it right over where the water is. Okay. Okay. Create. I'm going to create a negative mask. So by holding the Alt Option key for you Mac people, Alt key and hit my little mask icon down here, I'm going to create a negative mask. All right. And using my brush and painting in with white, okay, I'm just going to paint back in that sky area. All right. And it's going to look horrendous right now because there are no blend modes here. Okay. All right. But because I am working with a negative mask, I can see exactly where I need to paint my sky back in. All right. And just that quickly. All right. Now I changed that from normal to color. Okay. Bring the intensity down a little bit. All right. And now we have a little bit of color coming back in. All right. And of course, double click brings up the layer style. I can pull it away from the right hand side where my whites are, and I can bring back those the little white caps that are on the water. Okay. You got to be careful. You don't want to pull too back. Otherwise, you're going to start losing your color. Okay. So pull it back a little bit, split it. Okay. If you want to do the shadows, in this case, I don't think it's really affecting anything. All right. And then hit OK. Okay. Oh, there we go. Let me pull my highlights back, and there we go. Okay, and then we have colored water. All right, that still may be a little bit too strong. All right, but here I'm kind of illustrating it with water that's a little turbulent. But if you do a scene where the water's a little bit more still, if you do any kind of sky replacement, I strongly suggest you pay attention to what that water is reflecting. You want the reflection in the water to match whatever sky you put in. All right, make sense? Okay. So that's pretty much it for this image. You can see that it didn't take very much to really make this look a little bit more like a fall color, right? And if we wanted to, we could even use the same technique, right, on our building. Let's say we want to make this building a little bit brighter red, all right? Alt key makes my cursor change to the color picker. Pick a more redder red. Paint right over that. Right, you can see that it's going to be pretty horrendous. I'm gonna go fast, but even though I'm going fast, I want to make sure that I at least paint where that bridge is. All right, I want to keep to the perimeter. Right, just use my brush, color it in, change the blend, the layer blend mode to color. Right, bring the opacity down. Right, by a lot here, obviously 25%. All right, double click, bring up my blend if. All right, I don't want to affect those shadow areas, so I'm going to pull my shadow area out. Okay, and hit OK. All right, we have a little bit of a light flare up here, so I'm going to go ahead and change to an eraser. All right, make sure that my eraser has a nice soft edge. I'm just going to erase a little bit of that red away from that lens flare. That's it. Colorize your rather dull buildings. All right, using the same technique that we used for the tree line. Okay, easy enough. Questions?
Question, but another statement. You know, I grew up in Michigan, and we do a lot of color peeping or leaf peeping, I guess. And you know, it's so rare to get the colors at the right time with the blue sky. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To be able to come in and do this kind of stuff, because you know, I remember going up north to do that. You know, it was like every 4 or 5 years you might hit it right, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. You know? And, you know, there's nothing like that depressive mood when you go out with an expectation of getting these nice, you know, colorful fall colors in the foliage. You know, you've been looking forward to it for weeks on end. And then you get to this beautiful scene and you're presented with something that just kind of, wrong one, goes flat, you know? That's a boring picture. I was looking forward to seeing, you know, vibrant colors. Right, so being able to go in and think about the process and say, you know what, The colors aren't quite there, but at least I can work on my composition, try to get a nice image that I can take back into Photoshop and work my magic, and work it to a point where nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to know that you cheated. Okay? Right? Nobody needs to know. Right? They're going to say, wow, how'd you get those awesome colors? And it says, hey, dedication, hard work, being at the right place at the right time.
And my Nunya brush.
And yeah, your Nunya brush. What's a Nunya brush? None your business. All right. So you can see that, even something like this foreground part here that's kind of like just all nasty, right? We can create a new color layer. All right. I'm going to pick a nice, vibrant green, and I can just paint it in. Let me make my brush a little larger. All right. Change it to color blend mode. All right. Now, if I don't like that, I could even go to image adjustments, hue saturation. Okay. And I can take that and shift my colors. All right. Because I'm not going too far from what I initially picked. All right. I'm just kind of fine tuning it. If I find that, that's a little bit too vibrant of a green, let me bring it down. All right. We can use these tools. We can use the saturation tools. All right. And because we're editing live, we can see the effect that those colors are creating on that area. All right. So I can make it look a little bit more natural. All right. That looks a little bit better. Okay. Before and after. Okay. So that nasty brown is now a little bit greener. Okay. So there's all kinds of applications that you can use. And of course, a similar technique for you who do model photography, a similar technique is used to get rid of blotchy skin. All right. Get rid of circles under the eyes. Get rid of highlights where, the highlights are a little bit blown out. This technique can be used to correct for those flaws as well. So it's not just, in your landscape work. It can be in pretty much any kind of photography, right? All right. This one here, okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Lightroom, all right? Here's my grid. I got my miscellaneous clouds. All right. So these are all my cloud assets that whenever I remember, I tend to put them in here. Okay. So let's find maybe these clouds will work. Okay. I'm going to pick something a little bit different. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. Oh, it's hung up a little bit. Give it a second to catch up here. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and close those other two. All right. Any question on this image? No, I'm going to go ahead and close it. Any question on this image? What we did here? All right, I'm going to close it. Oops. What happened? Where's my... Oh, wrong one. Oh, what happened? Oh, no, there it is. Where's my Photoshop? There it is. Okay. Too many windows open, guys. Too many windows. All right. So I'm going to pick this sky here. All right, this is something that I shot a long time ago. Nice blue sky, puffy white clouds. I'm going to go ahead and open that in Photoshop. So edit in Adobe Photoshop or Control E. Right, and what that's going to do is it's going to open up. Where's my Photoshop? Yep, computer is very laggy today. Come on, here it comes. There we go. So I opened it up in Photoshop. Okay, and all I got to do is just click and drag from here onto my tab and drop it in. Okay, and it's just going to drop it right in. Right, and you can see, taken with an older camera, you can see the size difference. I'm just going to go ahead and enlarge it to the canvas. Hit enter. All right, and now it's its own layer. All right, so what I want to do is I want to place this, all right, if I hide it, just in the area up here. All right, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to make a luminosity mask. Okay, luminosity mask. All right, so if I go to my background layer and I go to my channels, all right, it's going to show me my red, green, and blue channels. All right, and just by looking at these little thumbnails, all right, I can see that my blue channel has the most contrast. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press and hold the control key and you click on it.
Like you're on mute.
Ooh, how did I get on mute?
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah, how did I get on mute? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
I didn't do it, honest. It did it all by itself. All right. Okay, so. All right, so where did I lose you? All right, we're on the blue channel, right? So if I press and hold the control key and click on that little icon, all right, it's going to select. It's going to select my channel. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that I come back to my RGB. All right, because we want to be in our RGB mode. And come back to my layers. All right. Come to my background. I'm going to take the lock off. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a mask. Okay. But it's going to be an inverted mask. All right, but that's okay for right now, right? I need to make changes to this mask. The first thing I need to do is I need to deselect all this stuff in the foreground, all right, because I just want to keep the sky part, okay? So press and hold the Alt key while you click on the mask. It's going to bring up your mask. All right, so now I am going to be able to edit just my mask, right? And from here, I can go to image adjustments, all right? Any adjustments I make here are going to be baked in. It's not like I'm making a layer mask. Adjustment layer to the mask, okay? And I usually tend to go to my levels for this adjustment rather than curves. If you guys know, I like my curves, but in this case, I'm going to go for levels. Because what I want to do is I want to manipulate my black and white points, okay? And I want to push everything that's middle gray to the black, okay? So if I take my my middle slider, all right, you notice that if I move it to the black, what it's telling is that everything to the left of this point is going to be black, and everything to the right is going to be white or lighter, okay? So if I change that midpoint, right, I'm basically telling everything what was normally midpoint, everything from this light point going to black is going to be darker, okay? And that's what I want to do, is I want to create all this contrast between my foreground and my sky, right? But you notice that there's a little bit of modeling going on in the sky, and I'm also getting all these areas down here. These areas of brightness down here, I really don't care about because they're going to be easy to fix. My main concern is this dividing line between my sky and my ground. That's what I want to keep an eye out, all right? And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of light gray here, right? And I can remove that by telling Photoshop that everything that's very, very, very light gray, I want you to make white. And we're going to go to our output levels, which is this bottom section. And this sets your black point and your white point. And we're going to set our white point. And we're going to say everything that is 232. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Our white point's here. Brain fry, right? Everything that is, you can see the spike here. Everything that's 244 and on is going to be changed to solid white, okay? So now I got rid of all that blotchiness, but you have to be careful, all right, because you don't want to fry all this little detail in the leaves. You don't want to fry that too much, okay? Because we don't want a very hard transition on the leaves, okay? So just be careful you don't go too far. If you go too far, you start losing all that little detail, all right? So in this particular case, we can just go in just a tiny little bit, okay? Once we're seeing our mask the way we want, okay, we can say okay. And now I can select a brush, okay? Make sure that my foreground color is black. And I'm going to paint all these areas here that are coming through because I just want to isolate my sky, right? I just paint that area black. So now what I have is a black and white mask, all right? And if I click back on my image, it's going to mask everything but my sky. So now, who's BT Chrome? Do me a favor and just mute yourself, please. Thank you. All right, so now if I invert this mask, all right, and I just used a hotkey Control-I, inverts it, and now you can see that my sky is no longer present, okay? All right, so now we just need to put our sky in, all right? We're going to take our sky, going to bring it back into view, all right? I need to enlarge it a little bit because I'm missing a little bit of this edge here. Enter. And I'm going to take that sky and I'm going to drop it behind my background layer, all right? And you can see that it looks a little horrendous, all right? I can go ahead and make adjustments and bring it up a little bit. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Obviously, it doesn't match. All right, we're going to need to make adjustments for it. All right, And we also need to make an adjustment on our mask because we're getting a little bit of a haloing, right? And for that, we need to soften the edges. So we double click on our mask. It's going to bring up our mask dialog. And we go to our global refinements, and the a little bit below halfway point, we're going to see the slider that says feather. We're going to use our feather to feather that edge, right? And we're going to shift that edge in a little bit, okay? There we go. Right. The other thing you can do if you want, let me go ahead and reset these. Make that 0. The other thing you can do is you can go to the left-hand side, and we have these tools, all right? And one of them is the edge adjustment, all right, tool, and it's just a brush. And what we can do is if we brush right along that edge, all right, it's going to use Adobe Sensei, all right, the Adobe Smart AI, and it's going to go ahead and try to fix the blend of that edge as best it could. Okay. Sometimes it works really, really well. Sometimes it doesn't. All right. And you can see kind of like in this area where there's very sparse leaves, it's probably going to have a hard time fixing it. All right. But that is an option. You can go right here and use that edge cleanup tool to kind of clean up your edge. All right. So I'm going to use a little combination of both. I'm going to put a little bit of feathering on it. I'm going to shift my edge in, and I'm going to say OK. And it fixes a lot more, right? This part here is looking pretty horrendous. So I might even just go in and say, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and remove some of that distraction, all right, just by erasing it from my blend, okay? And then the only thing left is to just make the sky layer match your original image, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create a curves adjustment. I'm going to make that sky a little bit brighter so that it matches. There, now it's starting to look like it belongs, okay? And you can obviously, do all kinds of color adjustments, all right? So if you need to, maybe warm it up a little bit, okay? We can go into our midtones, add a little bit of warmth, okay? And just like you would do it just like we did with the sky replacement, if you used the Photoshop sky replacement tool, okay? But in this case, we're doing it manually. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the first one, shift click on the last one, and create a group, Control G for group, and we can call that sky, all right? And now from here on, it's the same thing as what we did with the other images. Create a new blank layer. Get a nice soft round brush. Okay. Pick a nice warm color that you want to change your trees into. Start painting over the areas you want to change. All right. Keeping track of where you want to put your reds and your yellows and your oranges. Right. Keep in mind you want to create kind of a patchwork. You don't want to have, you want to maintain a certain balance, all right? So think calico cats, all right? That's usually what I do, all right? And of course, if you want to really, really brighten up the colors that are already existing. Just pick a brighter color. All right, here we go. I'm going to go heavy with the yellow on this, I think. And yellow background. I'm kind of liking that tree there, kind of being green. All right. Okay. Double click. Bring up the layer style. All right. Again, pull away from the shadow area so we can bring some of the shadow forward. Alt click to split it. Give it a smooth transition. All right. Change the blend mode to color. Bring the opacity down to suit your mood. Hit OK. And voila. You have fall colors. All right, let's bring the opacity up a little more. Fall colors. Okay. And it didn't need a lot in order to make it, really pop forward. Okay. Add a new layer. Let's go with a nice vibrant red. We'll paint our bridge. Right. Again, I'm going fast and sloppy just so you guys get the gist of it. Right. But you'll obviously want to take your time. Color mode, opacity. Okay. Double click. I'll bring some of the blacks in. Some of the shadows, I should say. Hit OK. Before, after. Okay. Not the right kind of red. Let's go to Image, Adjustments, Hue, Saturation. All right. We can desaturate the red a little bit. That's looking a little bit better. Hit OK. And we're done. Right? Bridge before and after. Trees before and after. All right. We can click on the first one. Shift click on the second one. Control G to group it. And we can call this fall colors or whatever you want. And that's it. Very quick and dirty. Obviously, you'll want to spend a little bit more time with your images. All right? Questions? I fried brains. We're good. Everybody is going to be able to now go out and take some really crappy fall photos and make them really pop forward, right?
Yeah, because all I've been able to do now is take really good photos.
Oh, man. All right.
No, seriously, I think a lot of folks, Doug, when we say we don't have any questions, it's when you do your presentation, it makes sense. But since it's so new, I really don't try and sometimes can't intend it. But I know when I get ready, I'll get back to this video and, walk through it. That's really the way for me I can learn is when I actually can do it with an action.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it just, again, it's knowing what's available to you. Even though you may not use it right away, further down the line, you say, oh, yeah, I need to do this. I recall there is a way of doing it, So even if you get that recollection, you're within the ballpark, then you can say, okay, how do I colorize this? And then you can look it up, But at least now you know that this is doable.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know about that color option, and plus that business where you were splitting the shadows, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, I'm watching it going, this is cool AF, but I'm going to need to watch it when I get to do it.
Yeah.
But you know how it is with any of this kind of stuff, when you're trying to give someone a click-by-click instruction, and all you got to do is miss one click or be on just, one version off the way the display is, and
Yeah. But,
in my case, after a lesson like this, if I don't use it right away, or if I use it only once and then don't use it again for 6 months, okay, how do we do that?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why I said, learning this stuff is like building that jigsaw puzzle. You spend so much time looking at the same pieces over and over and over again until finally, you see two pieces and you go, these two go together, and then that's where you get that, embedded into your brain. That's where it becomes knowledge. So hopefully I've given you some new pieces to look at and see where they fit into your workflow, and take it from there. So, but we took we took a nice dreary day image and made it a lot more colorful and something worth sharing, on social media. So, all right, guys. That's pretty much what I had for you today. Again, don't forget. Before I forget, all right, because if I forget to tell you this, Diane is going to have a fit. She's going to skin me alive. Next month, my wife and I have to watch the grandkids on the first Monday, all right, which is normally for Lightroom. We're going to be out of town, so I won't be able to do Lightroom on that first Monday. So what I've decided for next month is we're going to shift everything over. Instead of the first 3 weeks, we'll skip the first week and then we'll just pick it up for the last 3 weeks. So I'll put a post in Facebook group just to remind you. But just keep in mind that I'm unfortunately going to have to make a little bit of a change here, okay? Again, don't forget, let me pull this up. Street Portrait Workshop, Saturday the 23rd. I got 2 sessions going, so whichever one you want. I want to keep to about six people for each, that way you get my undivided attention, and we don't have a large group slowing things down. Okay. Obviously, if I don't get a lot of takers, I just might combine them all into one big one. So who knows? Okay. But right now, 12 noon and 2 o'clock or 2:30. All right. And then Sunday, the 24th, we're going to be doing, these kind of photos, the fall foliage photos over at the Goodspeed Opera House. All right. So that's a beautiful scene. So hopefully you guys can make it to that one. Okay. And that one's, regular, come and shoot meetup. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, I will bid you all.
Real quick one.
Yeah. Go for it.
Someone said something at the top of the show. This is related. What is a PSA in the photo world? Is it a grading system or something?
Jill and Bill were talking about that.
Yeah, Jill won the thing, and she go, well, it wasn't PSA certified or something like that because of the.
What it is, and this is what we were talking right in Camera Club, PSA rules for nature. These are PSA rules just for nature.
Yeah, so
man-made can be in the photo.
Yeah, tell them what PSA stands for.
Oh, Photography Society of America?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so a lot of the clubs follow there's kind of like standardized regulations for competition. Obviously, local clubs can modify their requirements on the local level, but if you're looking to compete on a bigger scale, it's nice to follow certain regulations. So that's what that is all.
And that's why North Haven has one. That's only just one category that North Haven has for monthly competition is PSA nature rolls. In case anybody wants to enter in a contest that actually uses PSA nature rolls only.
Mhm.
And the only thing is you can't have anything man-made in the photo.
Right.
In one case, somebody got disqualified because they took a picture of a big eye, maybe an eye of a horse or whatever, but in the reflection of the eye, you could see a barn or something behind.
Wow. Yeah. That's nitpicky. That really is nitpicky. Yeah, so. Alrighty, guys. Thank you once again for joining me. Hopefully you guys learned something new and useful today. All right. Next week we have our regular Q&A. So any question about anything related to photography, hopefully I can help you out with it. Okay?
No, thank you.
All right. My pleasure.
Have a good one.
We shall see you when we shall see you. All right. All righty, guys. Be good. Be safe.
Thank Learning Photography with Duck. Brought to you in association with Milford Photo, your local full-service camera store. Located in downtown Milford, Connecticut, Milford Photo offers you a personalized shopping experience. From the latest camera gear to printing and framing services. And, of course, educational workshops to teach you the finer aspects of photography. Don't forget to tell them Duck sent you.